and welcome back everyone to Tiny Table Talk discussion for this week's episode of The Challenge Season 35 Total Madness Episode 3. We got a lot to talk about, so let's start off this week's episode with... In episode 2, we saw the whole Dee and Rogan saga hit a new peak as Dee set her sights on getting Jen out of the house, and Jen was obliterated out of the house after the tribunal sent in Jenny, and Jenny demolished her in the Flip That Switch elimination. Now, you think coming into this episode, episode 3, that maybe Dee and Rogan are gonna have a conversation, talk about where their feelings are at for one another, and maybe there could be some closure, or maybe there's gonna be some new feelings kind of spark up. Psych, that's what we all thought, but what actually happened was Dee and Jay were actually flirting over chocolate chip cookies in the kitchen, and then later on at the Halloween bar party, they actually started making out in front of Rogan, which the whole purpose to make out in front of Rogan was to make either Rogan jealous or absolutely mad, which both pretty much happened, and Dee is staying away from both of them, giving each other them spaces, and it's like, what did this accomplish, really? I mean, I don't know, and it's kind of, I'm getting kind of tired of the whole Dee and Rogan situation, and we're only in episode 3. And what really is annoying is that there's like 20-something other people in this house, big personalities, and competitors that we haven't seen in a while, and realistically, they're just glorified extras at this point. They're just walking around in the background, kind of like cameos in a Marvel movie. People forgot Jenna was even on this season. Luckily, Kayla and Nelson were fighting with one another, so we got to see them more in this episode. Luckily, Melissa had a confessional about wanting to keep Jay. It's just really ridiculous. And then Bear's in the shadows. Normally, he's out in front, has something to say, really fun personality, and he's sitting in the corner. I mean, we're seeing the same 6 to 7 people on every single episode so far. I mean, we got Dee, Rogan, Bananas, and Wes, and then Jenny, and then the 2 people that win the tribunal, and if it's a guy's day, then Jay's name is being brought up and he gets a confessional finally. What's gonna happen next week? Oh, we didn't see this person for so many episodes. Oh, and then they're gonna be thrown straight into elimination and then lose, and then we're gonna be like, wow. A war has been waged between Bananas and Ashley, and Bananas decided to kick off this episode by putting Ashley's game on blast, calling her a shapeshifter as she moves from alliance to alliance every season she's on. And when you look at the facts, he's not wrong, but when you look at Ashley's early challenge career, she really had a strong alliance members in what was called the Lavender Ladies. But as the seasons progressed, as the years have gone on, less and less of the Lavender Ladies have been put on the cast list of the challenge, as Ashley has been a consistent cast member, so she really can't rely on the Lavender Ladies anymore. And even looking at last season, she was part of the major alliance, War of the Worlds 2. However, none of those people came back. So now she has to figure out a way to connect with people, make friends, make an alliance, and I think that's just showing how much of a social game she has and how much she is trying to get the numbers, because Ashley is smart in the fact that, hey, I need to get numbers to make it far into this game. We saw what happened to Jen as she isolated herself from people, and then she got thrown into the first elimination that she was able to go into and got demolished. Ashley doesn't want to do that. She knows what it takes to win, and numbers are what takes to win this game and make it to a final. And if you take a look at what Bananas is doing, it's very smart politically, as he is taking bits and pieces from Ashley's challenge career and dropping it in a way to form this light around Ashley. And it's really not that hard, as you can say, hey, remember in Final Reckoning, she took all the $1 million for herself, even though she had a partner and they ran the finals together. Hey, she's known for going through alliance to alliance, which all those things are true, but necessarily doesn't shed the light on everything that's happened in the challenge career. It's like the truth, but has omissions on it. But in that same light, I feel as though these players, these younger players, know more about Ashley and what she's done recently because of how recent all of her events have been. Final Reckoning was only 3 seasons ago, whereas if you look back at when Bananas took all of the money for himself in Rivals 3, that was like 9 to 10 seasons ago. So it's not readily available in people's mind as, say, what Ashley's done. And I feel as though it holds more water because it's happened so much more recently than, say, what Bananas has done. But both have parallels. Both players have parallels in their games from their past challenge. We saw in this episode the first volunteer from the tribunal go down to the elimination and try to get their red skull. CT was looking for a slam dunk as he was going up against the presumed layup in Jay. However, he tripped on the court going for a fast break as time expired. I don't know where this basketball analogy really fell apart at the end. But what I'm trying to say is that CT took his shot and he missed, getting sent home. But if you're looking at CT, I think this was the right move to do. You're looking down at this thing, you're seeing the giant rope, you're seeing these two shelters, and you know that, hey, there's gonna be something where I can tie a knot, there's gonna be something that I can use my strength to my advantage for, and he took his shot and just barely lost. I mean, he got the door open before Jay, and if they didn't have that rule of having to open the door all the way, I feel as though CT would have been able to sneak underneath the chains, squeeze through that door and hit the buzzer and win, and he would still be in this game. But because the rules said you had to fully open the door, that's what really sealed in the win for Jay, as CT didn't tie up every loose end literally in that elimination. I feel as though this season in particular, you're gonna have to take opportunities and you're gonna have to take some risk to win, and that's what CT did. It just wasn't his night, it wasn't his elimination, and he lost. And I hate to say it, I hate to see him go, but we saw Dee not volunteer herself into what seemed to be a really, really easy elimination, and she could have gotten her red skull easily, whereas CT is thinking, I don't want that happening to me. I don't want to see somebody else go down into the purgatory floor, take out Jay, and now I'm sitting here going like, I could have done that. You don't want to have those I could have done that moments or regretful moments. I think CT took a shot, I respect it, and he just barely lost. So hats off, I think that's the right move for CT, even though he lost. Now here are my top 3 male and females from this particular episode of The Challenge Season 5 Total Madness Episode 3, and we're gonna start off with the guys this time, and at number 3, we're going with Johnny Bananas. Now his name was said a lot at the house vote, however, that all turned up on its head and he did not have to go into the elimination, which bodes well. He has some numbers, people are still worried about sending him in, and we even saw Wes, his longtime rival but now Alliance member in this game, didn't take the shot to vote in Bananas, which he would have at a drop of a hat if this was any other season. So with that being said, I think Johnny is at number 3 this episode. At number 2, we have Jay, of course, going into another elimination, his second in 3 weeks, going up against a legend in CT and winning, getting his second red skull. I just don't know how you can call him a layup anymore in this game now that he has won 2 eliminations in 3 weeks. Absolutely incredible. And at number 1, we have Swaggy C getting into another tribunal. This time he didn't have to win in the game to make it into the tribunal. He was able to get in there with his ties with his fiance Bayleigh, and I mean, they were able to swing CT's mind to bring in Swaggy. So I mean, that's fantastic for him. Good job getting in there, staying in power, staying safe another week. He's doing what he's got to do to make it far into this game, and I got to give him his applause. Now time for the females. At number 3, we have Kayla. Yes, her game was put on blast by Nelson, either inadvertently or on purpose. However, we got to see some screen time from her, and she's gotten a couple confessionals, so at least we got something more from her in this episode than we have in the past 2 episodes or even the last week. I mean, the only females that were out in the open in this episode were Ashley, Jenny, and Dee, and I don't feel as though any of those females really deserve to be in the top 3 this week. Plus, they were in the top 3 the last couple of weeks because they've been out in the forefront of the show, and I'm trying to figure out more people to put in here. So at number 2, we have Melissa, as she had a few confessionals this episode. She decided to stay strong with her alliance with Kyle and Bananas and didn't say his name. And at number 1, we have Bayleigh. Bayleigh absolutely demolished that daily challenge, getting into the tribunal, working smarter, not harder. She's easily fitting into this challenge atmosphere, and I love to see it. I love to see her slay, so let's keep it going with these rookies. This is a strong rookie class, and I'm so excited to see how far each and every one of them can go. Now time to read some comments from my Thursday's video on the challenge episode 3 review and recap, and we're gonna start off with Daquan RJ, who said, I sort of wish Rogan should have gone in because I think he still needs to prove himself, in my opinion. I agree on that opinion. Also, he would have gone home 99% sure because Jay's strategy was smart, putting the chains through the cinder blocks. I agree. I loved that strategy of putting all the ropes in because it took CT a lot longer than expected to smash all those cinder blocks to get the ropes out of them. And it tired him out, I feel. I feel as though it tired him out trying to pick up the cinder blocks and break every single one of them. He had to go a couple more times on some of them towards the end, and I feel as though if he didn't do the cinder block rope thing, then CT would have been able to open that door and break that chain because he still would have had all the strength and all that stamina. The next comment we have is from FL Boy Can Scrap, FL Unite. Ashley versus Bananas was an amazing high-level political battle, and he was only saved by his now not-so-secret alliance with his sworn enemy. Jay is a star, he has fantastic personality, and great underdog story. I agree with you on the Jay, and I don't know how anybody can say that they didn't know Bananas and Wes was working with one another. They had the hug in the first episode, and now they're like making out with one another, and Wes isn't saying Bananas' name? Come on. Everybody should know that. I mean, it's almost like trying to treat the audience like we're stupid and we can't see that they're just all over each other. I mean, they're hanging out. They're helping Jen write a script and speech in episode 2. They're sitting right next to each other all the time. Wes is hesitant to throw Bananas in. This should all been red flags early on, and come on, like, we can't say that nobody knew going into this. I feel as though everybody's like acting in their confessional saying like, I didn't know. How could we have known? I mean, they're making out on the couches and hugging each other. Come on. The next comment is from Poppy B, who has said, conspiracy theory, what if the red skulls are like lives? Because now Jay is still the only one with a red skull, but he has 2. What if the next twist is that because you know now when it's a men's elimination night, everybody's going to want to throw Jay in because all TJ said was that you need to have a red skull to go into his final, and that just because you already had one didn't mean you couldn't be thrown in again. I mean, I like that theory. However, I don't think that's what's gonna happen because it's never really worked out in the challenge that people had live. So if you lose an elimination, you can now only have one red skull and going back in. I love the thought process on it, but I just don't think that's how it's gonna work this season. I feel as though that even though Jay keeps on being thrown in, that if he slips up once, he's gonna be gone. I mean, I think it's a lovely theory, and I would love to see it be the case because I wanna see Jay stay in the game as long as he can, but I feel as though he's still gonna be targeted, especially by Rogan, and I think if he slips up once, he's gonna be out of this game. But I love the thought process on it. The next comment is from Naturally Done, and they say, I knew my baby daddy CT was going to win until he didn't. I screamed and my daughter said, Mom, what's wrong? I think it was a great move for CT because he is good with knots. Looking forward to seeing him soon, and I pity the fool that goes against him next time. I wish that I knew that fool comment was coming up because I would have done my Mr. T impression. But I agree, I think it was the right move for CT. He is good with knots, he saw the rope, he has the strength, he has what he presumed more strength than Jay, so I understand where he was coming from. I do like the move, it just wasn't in the cards for CT today, and I really do hope he goes out there, gets down into getting more strength, getting more cardio, and just whipping up on everybody next season. I would like to see it happen. And finally, the last comment I'm gonna read today is Alex Fritz's comment that said, this was easily the best episode of the season so far. Jay beating CT was so epic, and the Jay and Rogan rivalry could, in my opinion, be one of the best rivalries in the new era of the challenge. It's true David versus Goliath rivalry, plus they both have some stock to their name, with Jay taking out CT and Rogan winning a challenge in his second season, plus the Bananas Wes team up is going great, and Aneesa had some fire commentary. Once again, this episode was 10 out of 10. Good job, MTV. I completely agree 100%. This elimination was a major step up from the previous two. I loved it, and yeah, I agree with everything. 10 out of 10. I think this was a much better episode, much better elimination. This is one of those episodes where the elimination actually outshines the daily challenge, in my opinion. And yeah, I would give it a 10 out of 10. I think it was very, very good job stepping it up, and I can't wait for more episodes, more step-ups, more amazing eliminations and daily challenges. I cannot wait. But what do you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. Which side are you on, the Bananas or Ashley in this whole rivalry and war feud? Let me know that in the comment section below. And which side are you on between the Jay and Rogan rivalry? And thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really, really soon with more challenge content, brief histories, top 10s, top 5s, fantasy cast videos, much, much more. Also, join me on Thursdays for the challenge, Total Madness review and recaps, and Survivor review and recaps. And join me next week, Friday, for another tiny table talk for the challenge, Total Madness. But until then, peace.